I'm interrupting our regular pattern of conversations to share an important message with you. You're listening to the PHEC podcast, episode 365. The field of public health is so broad, overlapping multiple industries. With epidemiology at the core of public health, there are an unlimited number of ways to target specific populations, health conditions, environmental issues, and causes that matter most to you. My name is Dr. Huntley, and I'm the host here on the Public Health Epidemiology Conversations podcast. I'm an epidemiologist, consultant, and entrepreneur with over 20 years of experience in healthcare and public health. On this podcast, my guests and I engage in conversations that demonstrate the importance of public health and epidemiology across a variety of industries, helping you think outside the box and inspire greater positive impact in communities around the world. Now, let's dive into the topic of this brand new episode. Greetings, everyone, and thank you for joining me on this episode. Whether you're listening for the first time or you've been tuning in for quite a while, either way, welcome or welcome back. I lead a public health and epidemiology consulting firm that supports large nonprofit organizations and government agencies that serve Black, Indigenous, and people of color, also known as BIPOC communities. Now, if your organization where you work, or if it's one that you own, if your organization serves BIPOC communities, then please reach out to us through our website at DrCHHuntley.com. We'd be happy to meet with you and explore how we might be able to support your organization. We'll also provide links to our site in the show notes as well. On this episode today, it's just you and me, and I'd like to share with you from a topic that's really top of mind for me. It was triggered by an experience with one of our clients recently, a very happy experience, and a few other things that have been happening across the last several weeks, couple of months. So at the time of this recording, it is midsummer. So we're in the middle of July. And just to put it into context, because you may be listening to this in real time as it's released or a little bit later, maybe fall, winter, but I just want to put a little bit of context there. So like I said, we had an experience, really positive experience with one of our clients, and things came full circle. And then with another client, we were wrapping up a big project. And a few things, two different clients and two different types of projects, but very similar experiences across each of the teams that I worked with these clients. So I guess the big reminder for me, and I'm sharing it with all of you, is the importance of humanizing our work. We can get really caught up in our projects and our work and get so focused on what we're doing and meeting the deadlines. And it's easy, especially if we're digital, we're sending emails, we're not in front of the clients all the time. Even when we are, sometimes we can just get lost in what has to happen next and what's important and what's done. And then we close the door, move to the next thing. And it can just feel like a ritual and we lose touch. And I think it's dangerous, because relationships and connectedness is how we're able to deliver on these projects and how we're able to serve ultimately the communities and causes that we are targeting and what matter to us the most. So one example, I had a chat with some of my clients. This is for the project that we are probably about 2 months away from completion. And we've been working on it for a little over a year. So pretty involved project. But across that time, there's been this internal team, which is my team of folks that are working on the projects and delivering the work to our client, and then working with the client, like working team, that team from the client's internal group that is working on coordinating with us to complete this project. So we've had multiple meetings across this time frame where my team comes together with their team over a Zoom meeting. And we're several states apart in the country. So putting all that into perspective. So this is a very important project, meaning this deliverable is very important. It's serving beyond my clients' doors. It goes into their community. So there's a level of a little bit of stress and anxiety just naturally associated with it because it's something that is really serving multiple other entities and organizations. So everyone's trying to cross their T's and dot their I's. We've had a lot of challenges across this last year or so with a little bit of turnover and just access to the things that we need and just navigating all of this. And I've been carrying a bit of weight with trying to navigate an internal team, an external team, and all the moving parts for something that's important. I'm just putting all this into context. We have these regular meetings, and I've noticed that I can't remember when we started doing this, but I remember that there's so much pressure, and you can almost see it on everyone's face when we come together for the meeting, for the projects. It's like what's needed. People are frustrated when they can't get their parts completed, or if they run into some issues with the analysis. So I started to just soften the tone with these meetings, and we started to kick off our meetings with these check-ins and these very personalized little updates. And it did not dig into our agenda or take up all the time, but just a soft touch to the meeting and a soft start to the meeting was huge return. The check-ins were sometimes, what are you doing this weekend? Or what did you do fun over the last week? Or how do you prioritize self-care? I started asking those types of questions. And then it softens the tone. And I noticed that people start to engage and it humanizes things. We talk about activities, and because we're several states away, what they're doing and what they have access to is very different than what we do on our coastline and what we have access to. And then I noticed that individually, like within their team, they began to connect more and build more relationship. And even with my team, the same thing started to happen. So over a span of, I say several months now of doing that, I can see the difference because, it's a Zoom call, everybody's got their videos on. I can see the difference in how people show up, the expression on their faces, the weight doesn't seem to be as heavy. And there's so much connectedness across these teams that it's been such a delight. We still have our challenges. We still have all these things that are happening that come with a big project like this. But we also have built a lot of rapport and relationship across this really diverse team. This is something that I don't take for granted. I know it's not necessarily easy to build relationship and to lead very different groups across these different mediums. And I know that that's something that I've been able to do well. And it doesn't necessarily come easy for a lot of people, but I think that it's important to try. I think that it humanizes our work. And because work environments are so diverse now, it's not just all in person, even though your office, as you're listening, may be all in person, but you may also be partnering and working with folks that are hybrid or fully remote. So these blended teams are more common than not these days. And even when you consider employees and contractors and consultants mixing together to form a team, using air quotes, you're having a very different type of workplace. So I think it's easy to get lost in that and just become an email, text on a digital paper, and lose sight of the human connection. So I encourage you to maybe just review or reflect over what your situations are like. And maybe you can think of some things that you could do to improve in those engaging types of those meetings and the engagements around projects. I think it's a good reminder to just lift your head a little bit from your desk or away from your screen and be more present. Actually enjoy what you're doing. If it may not be that this project is so exciting, but maybe it's connecting to a little bit, span out a little bit and connect to a bigger cause. Maybe it's the cause of the project or something on the other side of that project. And it's just, again, just being present, taking the time to I think that when you do something like that, when you pause a little bit, lift up from your work, look around, be more present, it's like hitting a reset button in a way. It changes your perspective slightly, which can be very refreshing and helps with, like I said, humanizing the work. I will say one more thing about this, and it's really about our team, my personal team. So I think that a little bit of accountability in this in terms of how we're humanizing the work and prioritizing self-care. And I almost, I feel like sometimes we talk about self-care so much that we get a little desensitized to that. We know what it means for everybody else, but as public health professionals, we can always forget or not really prioritize that for ourselves. And so my team, and I, at the beginning of the summer, I knew that we had a lot of projects. And I've mentioned this previously, but I asked them to share. We had a meeting and I said, this summer is going to be really intense for us. We've got a lot of projects. We've got a pretty heavy load. And I set goals for myself. I thought we had a little exercise. I said, fast forward to the end of the summer. When you get to September 1st, Labor Day weekend, how do you want to reflect back over your summer? How do you want to feel? What would feel like a successful summer for you? What would make you feel good? Like, oh, yes, I enjoyed my summer. And it's interesting because this is our full-time team. So there's 3 of us full-time and our other team members are part-time. So we just did this exercise with the full-time team members. And each of us had a focus that was really lifestyle related and was under this kind of theme of self-care. So we put a little bit of accountability in place. So I asked them, what are you going to do? I gave them some suggestions to make sure that they could, make sure this happened. So I gave them each a block of time in their work week at the end of Friday afternoon. I gave them a block of time so that they could help them to accomplish that goal. So each of their goals were a little different, but I wanted to make sure that they were going to be successful and they could accomplish this goal. And then for myself, I did the same thing. One of my team members is responsible for a lot of the support on my calendar and schedule. And she's done a great job of helping me to hold space for the things that I said were important to me, for my summer to be successful. So when we get to the end of the summer, we already have a plan. We're going to sit down and have that meeting and ask the question, how was your summer? And we get to talk about it. But in the process, we're holding each other accountable by, I gave them that time to do it. And we're doing these little mini check-ins to see how things are going. So I think for me, I'll just share with you that it's important for me to really have fun in my summer. So although I have these incredibly heavy, so to speak, projects this summer, not in a negative way, they're just very important and they're very involved. And it's a challenge for my team, my consulting team and myself. I still want to be able to, I don't want to be married to my desk and my work. I want to do a great job. And I also want to enjoy my summer. I want to play and have fun. My grandchildren live just a few minutes away from me now. And I'm just thrilled. They've always been several states away. So I wanted to just enjoy them. So I can tell you, even at this midsummer point, that I've been able to have so much fun with my grandchildren. They've both been in the pool. We swim. We've done a lot of swimming and eaten a lot of fruit. I am, instead of being the grandma that gives them a lot of candy, I just let them have all the fruit that they like. And recently we went to a farm and picked blueberries. I had never done that before, but my grandson, who is almost 3, is obsessed with blueberries. So, I've been able to do those things. I've had a garden. And we grew lots of vegetables, actually, from seed into the garden, and they produce really well. So that was a lot of fun to just have time to pick my fresh vegetables and cook them and eat them raw. Some of them we just ate raw, but just the time to enjoy. These are the things that, for me, were making my summer has been fun so far. And so we still have some ways to go, but I am sharing all of this with you because I want to remind you of how important it is to take care of yourself, to humanize this work. Don't forget about yourself. Self-care is so important. And then almost infuse that into your work. Check in with your coworkers and your colleagues and ask them how they're doing. Like, really check in. How are you doing? Are you enjoying your summer? What are you doing for fun? How far you can go with certain employees, but I've never been upset with someone for checking in on me. I really appreciate that when that happens. So I think that could be well received, and it fuses into the work that you're doing. I know my team has been working really hard right along with me. They've been rolling up their sleeves. We've been celebrating some wins and just getting things done, and then also taking care of ourselves and checking in on each other. So I hope this helps you as you're listening to incorporate this into whatever situation you're in. If you're a student, apply it applicable. If you're a student, then apply this to maybe your classmates, or if you're working in public health, government sector, or academia, wherever you're working, if you're a consultant, just apply this where you are and check in on your colleagues, your classmates, your coworkers, and then make sure that you're having some level of accountability for yourself. Don't let the time just fly by going from project to project, deadline to deadline, and then squeezing in like a quick vacation and then going right back to it. I mean, you can work hard and enjoy life and living at the same time. So you all know these things. I'm just kind of reminding you and sharing a little bit from our perspective here to kind of looking out for you. I want us to be strong in this industry, in this field, and continue to thrive. So I hope this helps. Of course, I want you to follow, subscribe to the podcast, and share it, of course. This is a really important part of how we continue to show up for you with these new episodes. So thank you all for listening. Thank you all for being a part of the community. And I look forward to hearing from you. Find a post about this episode on LinkedIn and let us know how this has helped you. How are you checking in on your colleagues, enjoying your summer? What did this mean to you? We'd love to hear from you. All right, everyone. Until next time, have a fantastic rest of your day. Thank you for listening to the Public Health Epidemiology Conversations podcast. Visit phecpodcast.com to find the show notes for each episode and to learn how to work with me.